Hello and welcome to RVN TV's press conference. I'm your host, Jim DeLorenzo, the principal of Jim DeLorenzo Public Relations. You can find me online at jimdelorenzo.com. A reminder that I'm always available to answer your questions about public relations, how it works, what it is, how it can help you. Please feel free to email me at jim@jhdenterprises.com, contact me on LinkedIn, or on Twitter, where my handle is @JHD16. In my public relations career, I've had the good fortune to meet many interesting people: athletes, entrepreneurs, reporters, coaches, authors, executives, editors, entertainers, and innovators. Today, our guest is Ginger Downey, the co-owner and vice president of DermaMed Solutions, and also the executive administrator for the Board for Certification of Nutrition Specialists. Her company, DermaMed Solutions, has been a manufacturer and distributor of aesthetic equipment and professional skincare products for over 20 years. Ginger and her business partner, Mark Pinsley, feel that the key to healthy skin is a holistic approach. That's W-H-O-L-E-istic, not holistic. One that encompasses mechanical treatments, topical skincare, and nutritional and wellness elements. In her newest role as the executive administrator of the Board for Certification of Nutrition Specialists, she works with the board to serve the public by establishing and enforcing standards of certification, recertification, and the code of ethics, and issuing credentials to individuals who meet these standards. I've known Ginger for a few years now. I've had the pleasure to work with her and Mark at DermaMed Solutions. I know from our times together, you actually got your career started in the human resources area. And at some point during your career, you shifted into nutrition and healthcare or wellness training. So my first question for you today, Ginger, is how did you find a way into nutrition from the from the human resources area of business?
Yeah, good question. And I think that my answer is really an answer that I have in common with many nutrition professionals. Most of us had some personal experience that touched us and inspired us to want to help others. When I started my career, I was very young. I graduated from high school at age 17, went right to work as a temp at this company called ADT Security Systems, and I was a secretary. And I thought that that's what I would do the rest of my life.
Okay.
And somehow I was there as a temp for 2 weeks. Within that 2 weeks, someone got to know me and gave me an offer working there full time, and I ended up in human resources. And once I got there, I realized, why the heck didn't I go to college?
Okay.
There's so much I want to do, and I can really see myself in these positions, advancing in the corporate world, but I don't have a degree. And what do I really want to have that degree in? I wasn't sure.
Okay.
So I started at Morris County College, and I thought I might want to be a social worker, believe it or not. So I'm working in human resources as a secretary, and I'm studying to be a social worker. And about a year into that, I realized that, although that was a nice field, that I loved HR. And they have something in common, right? So when you're a social worker, you have a child or family, and you're trying to help get services to help them get better, in their life in some way. And in human resources, you have these employees that are like your family that you're trying to help with their benefits or their pension or their employee, review or whatever it may be.
That's refreshing to hear.
Yeah, thanks. So I loved that. So it was about helping people. So I did that working for, eventually I worked for Six Flags theme parks for 7 years. The most fun company ever to work for. I mean, really awesome. So I'm in the business world, having a great time.
And you're still in HR?
I'm still in HR.
Okay.
And I have my first child, and then I start working a little bit flex time and part-time, have my second child, and I become really ill. And I've got this autoimmune disorder that no one can seem to figure out. And I keep going to doctors, and they keep saying to me, well, we really can't determine what's wrong with you, but here's a prescription for antidepressants. And I kept saying, I'm not depressed. Like, if there's any person in this world who's not depressed, it's me. I just don't feel well, and I couldn't figure it out. And so I decided to take matters into my own hands, and I use nutrition. I use nutrition and wellness as my tool. And, I really feel like I was able to heal myself.
Wow.
And then in the background, growing up.
And you're doing this while you're at HR, you're feeling ill, you're researching nutrition
right.
and finding things that can help you feel better.
Exactly, right.
And so what's the next light that comes on?
Right. So at the same time, my mom has always battled with her weight. She's been significantly overweight her whole life, had all kinds of, health conditions, high blood pressure. She had her gallbladder removed. She had all these things that, high cholesterol that go along with being overweight. And then she got cancer. She got colon cancer. And she survived that. And for me, it was really just another message to me, like I really need to figure out how to help people, with nutrition as a tool. So I decided to go back to school, and so nights and weekends, I just chipped away at it. And I eventually got my bachelor's in food and nutrition, and then my master's in clinical nutrition.
Wow.
And then there was this decision to be made. So
And how long did that take?
oh gosh, 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
It takes a long time when you're doing it the way I did it. I had 3 kids in the mix along the way, so they're I'm working or I'm going to school and I have 3 children and I'm doing all this nights and weekends.
Okay.
But I loved it. I
Right.
loved every minute of it, and I did whatever I had to do to make my money just so I could keep going to school. And so then it was time to decide, well, what do you want to do? So the traditional career path is to become a registered dietitian. And that really, their beliefs were not completely aligned with mine. I was kind of one of the early adopters of integrative nutrition.
Okay.
And I just felt like, go ahead.
Describe integrative nutrition.
Yeah, so with integrative nutrition, it's not this one-size-fits-all program back in the days of the early RD especially, where it's the food guide pyramid, and everyone should eat the specific way. So with integrative medicine, we do look at diet, but we look at each person as an individual, and we try to tailor diet to them, and we bring in other modalities. So it might be stress management, it might be acupuncture, there's all these different tools and techniques that are used with integrative medicine. So we don't just look at just diet, but we look at this big picture, we call it the web, and we look at all the inputs to that person, and we create a plan that is more integrative.
Okay.
So I said, okay, well, I know I don't want to be an RD, what can I be? And so the Certified Nutrition Specialist was the other credential that really appealed to me. In order to be a CNS, you had to have a bachelor's degree in science, and then either a master's or PhD in nutrition.
Okay, which
And
you
so
had the master's.
I had the master's, or I was just about done with my master's. So I said, you know what, I think that's the direction I want to go.
Okay.
So I did, but it was the path less traveled. And at that time, the credential was a little bit smaller, and we had some growing and developing to do. And so I started volunteering with that organization years ago. And so I've been with them as a volunteer for a number of years, probably since 2007, 2006.
And now you're on their executive administrator for the certification.
For the credential, yeah. So that's been the really interesting thing. So I went, worked in human resources for those years, decided to make the career change over to nutrition. And I was still in the background doing the volunteer work with the BCNS, or the Center for Nutrition Advocacy, another arm of our organizations. But I had to make some money too. So
Now, were you able to incorporate the nutrition, the areas of nutrition that you were learning about and learning more and more about into your HR role, or did that become a separate?
that became separate. So I ended up leaving HR and finishing my degree in nutrition. So while I was studying, I was doing other things, selling insurance, whatever I could do to make a little money. So then when I went back to work, I thought, well, I really liked the business world and the corporate world, and then I really liked nutrition. And I tried to find a place where I could put those together. And I found a job working for a company called DSM Nutritional Products, where we were creating and running a corporate wellness program.
Oh, okay.
So-
and was it a corporate wellness program for the company itself or for client company?
Both.
Okay.
So it was a brand new arm or division of the company, and so we developed the program. We tested on our own employees, so we had 7,000 employees, and then we were in the United States, and then we were branching out to sell our services. And so I was really excited to be part of this team that was developing this new program. So I got to hire the health coaches, I got to train the health coaches, I got to create the nutritional protocols. So my nutrition work was in place, and at the same time it was in the business world. So it was a really nice marriage.
And now, when you're in the midst of doing that, you meet Mark Pinsley
Exactly.
at DMS.
DermaMed Solutions.
But
I'm sorry. We are
DSM.
DSM. Isn't that confusing? Yeah.
Right. So he's, and what was his role at DSM?
Okay, so at DSM, Mark was the product manager. So he was really the head of the development of the program.
Okay.
Where I was working, I was reporting to him, and I was the one creating the health coaching protocols and managing the health coach side of things.
And he has kind of an entrepreneurial bent.
Exactly. So Mark has bought and sold companies and kind of always had that in his blood, I think. It was what he loved to do.
And you two are working on this project, and he identifies a possible business venture that you could both get involved in.
Well, first, DSM comes to us and says, you know what, we think that your business unit is no longer aligned with our mission or strategy for the future, and we're going to sell your business unit. And you know, so just giving you a heads up, you can take the offer to go with the new buyer or not, et cetera. So then Mark says to me, I think I'd like to get involved in a new business venture. Would you and your husband like to invest? I said, no, I don't think so. I don't know anything about that. I don't have any money. He said, you just put your house up as collateral. You can use your kids' college funds. No big deal. So I jump in.
No big deal.
Yeah. So, I talked to my husband at the time, and we said, okay, let's do it. So we made an offer to buy our business unit from DSM.
Okay.
And it wasn't a very good one. They turned us down.
Okay.
So then we started shopping for companies, and Mark started sending me all the little write-ups about the various companies, and he sends me DermaMed, and he says, I don't know about this one, but take a read.
And you saw and said,
I light up. I'm
right.
like, gosh, the skin is a reflection of what's going on internally in the gut. Like, what an opportunity. Here's a company making a skincare line, making equipment. Now we can bring nutrition to that, and I can teach the estheticians and skincare professionals about nutrition, inside out, outside in. This is the one. DermaMed Solutions, the provider of the holistic provider of nutrition and skincare solutions.
And that vision that you had for DermaMed Solutions led to you and Mark and your spouses buying the company.
Exactly.
When was that?
That was in 2011.
Okay. And since then, you've grown it into this nutrition, skincare, holistic healing.
Exactly. I think the one thing that we're a little bit missing out on is the wellness piece. I think we wanted to bring wellness coaching into the business, and we never quite got there. You get into a business and you start to learn about, first of all, everything you didn't know about running that business. And so things changed a little. I think we put more of our energy into the skincare line and making that as clean as can be and as nutritional. And so that's been fun. I think the wellness piece, I write and I educate on wellness and nutrition, but I don't think we've got the product to market that we had hoped.
Okay. Well, I'd like to continue this with you, Ginger. We're going to take a brief break for some commercials, but we'll be right back after these messages.
Choosing Medicare coverage can be a very confusing and complicated process. Help is just a phone call away, 856-226-4800. As a licensed insurance agent, I'll assist you in making an informed and confident decision on a Medicare plan that meets your needs, lifestyle, and budget. Call me today for a free, no obligation Medicare benefits consultation, 856-226-4800.
When did you see the sign?
When I needed to create a better visitor experience.
Improve our workflow.
Attract new customers. That's when Fast Signs recommended Fleet Graphics.
Yeah, now business is rolling in. Get started at fastsigns.com.
What do I want to be when I grow up? Maybe a musician? A veterinarian? Maybe an equestrian? A mommy? Well, why not be all these things and more? Consider joining me, Dr. V, with friends and colleagues as we explore a wide range of topics together. V is for variety, here on RVN TV.
There you go, Richard. Oh! Is that too hard for you?
No. Is it too hard for you?
Woo! We're playing catch now. Oh, shit.
should you choose Rowan College at Gloucester County? Low cost. The #1 nursing program in all of New Jersey. More than 70 programs of study, including selective admissions. With record enrollment. A premier partnership with Rowan University. Transfer options with numerous universities. 4-year degree options on our campus. Rowan College at Gloucester County. Now you're thinking.
Welcome back to RVN TV's press conference. I'm your host, Jim DeLorenzo of Jim DeLorenzo Public Relations, and my guest today is Ginger Downey from DermaMed Solutions and also from the Board for Certification of Nutrition Specialists. And when we were talking before the break, we talked about how you've gotten to this point career-wise, but I really want to focus, if I could, on the nutrition aspect and what some of the things that you're seeing in that area and how it can apply to our everyday life. But also, you had mentioned to me recently about the new nutrigenomics, I believe, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Nutrigenomics. But
Nutrigenomics,
that's fine,
okay. Could you explain to us what nutrigenomics is?
Sure. Yeah, so as you know, we all have these 23 strands of DNA and 3 billion individual coded bits of information that we carry with us. And it makes us so unique in our biochemistry. And so what we have learned in medicine and nutrition, or it's really an emerging science, is that rather than having this one-size-fits-all approach, so say you come to me and you say, Ginger, I'm having some trouble managing my blood sugar and I'd like to lose 20 pounds, how can you help me? Instead of me pulling that diet off the shelf and saying, okay, here's the diet for that, Jim, and here's what you're going to follow, and here's the supplements that you're going to take. Instead, what we can do is we can take a look at your genes and we can say, oh, look at this. Jim has a gene that makes him predisposed to have insulin resistance. Jim has a gene that makes him apt to be 7% higher in weight than the average population. So we know he's working uphill a little bit compared to others. Maybe he has a gene that affects his thyroid. Maybe he has a gene that affects the way he makes the bacteria that lines his digestive system and helps him break down food. So if I can learn about all of that and about you and the way you metabolize fat and the way you metabolize carbohydrates, I can give you a very personalized diet that will really help you manage those conditions. And if I know all this about you before you have a medical condition, you can eat and behave in a preventative way that helps you to never have to have diabetes.
Oh, that's interesting. Very interesting.
Here's the important thing to know. Like a lot of people, they get their genome and we'll take a look at it and they'll get really scared and say, oh my gosh, like I have that gene that codes for diabetes. Does that mean I'm going to have diabetes? Absolutely not. Because you can either turn that on or off with your lifestyle choices. And I find, in terms of compliance, it's really empowering for people to know, I have the power to not have diabetes, even though I have the gene.
It's in my control if I do this way.
It's within my control, and I'm so much more incentivized to do that because now I've seen the evidence, what could happen to me.
Now, how would a layman like me, if we wanted to learn about this, do we come to someone like you, or specific doctors, or?
Yeah, good question. So I think that there are some genetic counselors and medical doctors who are really specializing in kind of the disease states, so the very serious genetic disorders. And I don't think they're working with the public so much on nutrition. However, there are a select group of nutritionists who are trained in nutrigenomics. And the group that I am working with, so I am a certified nutrition specialist. And so in order to be a CNS, you have to have either a master's or a PhD in nutrition. So you want to go with someone who's a little bit higher educated on the biochemical side of things. But even if they haven't had this very specific education in SNPs, we call them. So this is like little bits of broken DNA. It's called a SNP. So if they haven't had that education, then you're you're not going to be able to get the information you need. You really need to find a provider who is trained. And so there aren't that many of us.
Okay.
Yeah, so one of the things that we are doing in my work with the Board for the Certification of Nutrition Specialists, so we grant the CNS credential, and that's what's called a NOCA certified credential. So a credential that has certain standards that have been verified and validated, and we have to abide by these rules as we credential people, and we have to audit ourselves, and it's a very extensive procedure that we have to go through.
Right, and then there's also, I'm sure there's continuing education.
And continuing education, et cetera, yes. So we are looking to create the same kind of program for a specialized, a specialist in nutrigenomics.
Okay.
So that's on the horizon for us. And we think it's the key to the future of nutrition and medicine and preventative medicine.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we talked about DermaMed solutions. We're talking a little bit here about nutrigenomics. How do you tie in the nutrition? I know the answer to this. I think I know the answer to this, but how would you tie in the nutrition to the skincare area?
Great question.
I know that's something that has been on your mind and has been in what you've been working towards all these years.
Yeah, it really has been. And I've been very fortunate to be able to do an awful lot of education. So estheticians are skincare professionals. These are people who have gone to school and have been trained to work in the skincare profession. And so in my industry, there are certain trade magazines, Skin Inc., Dermascope, Les Nouvelles, and then there are also conferences that the estheticians go to where they get their continuing education credits or just go for their own sake of continuing their education. And so I've been lucky enough to be able to teach there, to give lectures, and then I also write for those organizations.
Okay.
And it's been wonderful because when I meet with these estheticians, they say to me all the time, like, I know I'm not a nutritionist and it's not within my scope of practice to give nutrition advice, but I get someone in my chair who has, flaming rosacea, and I know that, I have some ideas on how to help them, but I know that nutrition could be the key that helps them. And so they need guidance. What am I allowed to say? How can I say it? Who can I refer them to? And so that's what I do, is I create these little kind of packages of information for them. And I tell them, okay, you can say this. For example, they can say, well, research shows that taking 1.3 grams of fish oil per day is really helpful for someone who has rosacea. You should talk to your doctor or your clinical nutritionist about that.
Okay.
And they can give a research study, a piece of paper, showing them the information about that. They can't say, you need to start taking 1.3 grams.
They can't tell them exactly what to do.
Exactly. So I try to help them understand that because we don't always know what other medications someone is taking. We don't know what other kind of family history they might have or illnesses or things that they might be facing. And so you can do more harm than good with a supplement recommendation if you don't know what you're doing. And so I just teach the estheticians how to stay within scope of practice, but to recognize things like Candida, to recognize things like inflammatory acne.
I apologize, what is Candida?
Oh, Candida is an overgrowth of yeast. And some people get this overgrowth of yeast and they might have little white tongue, or they might have you've heard of women having yeast infections. But there's this other group of people that get terrible skin rashes, pink rashes all over their face, all over their bodies, and it's very uncomfortable. And they go to the esthetician looking for help.
Right.
And the esthetician
doesn't necessarily know.
They don't really know. But I can teach them what Candida looks like, and I can teach them kind of the direction to refer that client.
Now, in your role with DermaMed Solutions, and you have a DM skincare line,
right,
and you also are developing another line or an integration of that for the future. But when you're working with estheticians and you're working with skincare professionals and people in that industry, are they receptive to the idea of integrating nutrition into their work?
They're thrilled. I mean, they are really so hungry for this type of information because they know it makes all the difference. They know that the person who comes to their chair every month for the facial, who still smokes and eats candy all the time and doesn't take good care of their skin and doesn't get enough sleep and is stressed out and frazzled, is not going to have improvement in their skin. But they know that if they can get someone on the wellness path in addition to the skincare path, that they will have success. And then they'll keep coming back and referring their clients.
Interesting.
They'll have success. And vanity is so inspiring.
That's a great way to describe it. I've never really heard it put that way before.
It really is. When Mark and I bought DermaMed, we had been working in corporate wellness, where our struggle was, how do we prove that our program is working to the people who pay us to do the program? So we would do biometric screening events. Has cholesterol gone down? Is blood pressure improved? Has weight gone down, et cetera? And that in turn would lower healthcare premiums. So we were always proving our ROI.
Interesting.
And begging people to participate. Well, there's a little carrot here. If you participate, your employer may charge you less for your medical insurance, something like that. But when it comes to vanity, if you say to someone, if you eat 5 servings of fruits and vegetables per day and focus on getting good fats versus unhealthy fats in your diet, your skin will improve and you'll look younger, all of a sudden we've got compliance without begging.
Right.
I'll look younger?
That incentive is there.
Right, yeah. Okay, I'll do it.
Now, what do you see the future of, what are some of the things that you've got planned? I know we mentioned something about the future of DermaMed Solutions, something that's going to happen in 2019.
Right. I have one little hint, and I've been told I can't tell much about it.
Okay.
So it has DM in the name, because we have DM Skincare, DM Glow. And let's just say that we are putting all of the pieces together and putting it in a treatment protocol package, which we will be launching to our customers, and it's going to be really phenomenal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now,
really
if someone wanted to learn more about DermaMed Solutions, they go to
DermaMedSolutions.com.
Okay. And then also the DM Skincare line is on.
It would be, you could read about that as well. Yeah.
Okay.
DM Skincare.
And if someone was interested in contacting you about becoming a certified nutrition specialist,
yes.
How would they contact you?
cbns.org is our website, and you'll see my face comes up on the website, so you'll know you're in the right place. But yeah, we are always looking for more qualified, certified nutrition specialists. The Center for Nutrition Advocacy is another place where you can go. It's one of our websites and organizations where we help all qualified nutrition professionals help the public to the degree of their training. So from health coaches to clinical nutritionists, there's a role for everyone, and we support that.
Well, thank you for that, Ginger. I really appreciate it. I wish we had more time today.
Me too.
We'll probably have another conversation somewhere down the line.
I hope so.
But I hope that this was helpful to you out there. And I remind you that if you have any questions about Ginger and you want to look at her website, or if you want to contact me, jim@jhdenterprises.com, I'll be happy to connect you with Ginger. Or you can call me at 215-266-5943 with any questions, both about our guest today or about public relations in general. I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Thank you for joining us on Press Conference.